right, now your money, your vote continues. A key Senate seat in Tennessee is up for grabs. It's a race that could determine the fate of the entire Senate in November's elections. Recent polls show it's a statistical dead heat. You just heard from Democrat Harold Ford. Now let's hear from his challenger, Republican Bob Corker. Mr. Corker, welcome to the program. We're grateful you could come on. Let me begin with this. The Ford people, and I'm sure you know this, are accusing you of raising taxes. As mayor of Chattanooga, they say you raised the property tax and that you attempted to raise the hotel tax. What is your response?
You know, I came into our city when we had tremendous financial issues, and after making a tremendous amount of cuts, cutting the number of employees, cutting all kinds of expenditures there, we were left in a situation where we had to raise property taxes. But I think the rest of the story is that for 4 years, I was able to operate the city's budget with only a 1% increase in city expenditures. And because of that, and because of the tremendous investment that took place in the city while I was mayor, our city today has the lowest property tax rates since the 1950s. So I've also been Commissioner of Finance for our state at a time we had tremendously difficult financial issues, and made the cuts necessary to get us on a recurring basis. Our state was left much stronger. I'm very, very proud of my record as mayor and as Commissioner of Finance, and certainly have a different view of the world than my opponent as it relates to taxes. I heard him earlier, and as you know, he opposed the Bush tax cuts in '01 and '03, and sort of slides by that. And for the average Tennessean here in '09, which he opposed...
Just if I may, so far as I know, he voted in favor. I know at the very minimum, he voted to extend the dividend and capital gains taxes. I thought he actually voted for them in the first place in 2003. Are you sure about that?
I am sure of that. And as a matter of fact, he was opposed to the capital gains extension until he began running for the United States Senate. But the fact is that that tax will raise taxes on middle-income Tennesseans by over 100% if it's not extended in '09. And if I'm elected, I will certainly vote to support those and extend those tax cuts.
Will you vote to make the dividends, capital gains, and the 35% personal income tax, the kiddie credit, and the marriage deduction? If elected, would you vote to make them permanent, as President Bush has requested?
Absolutely. I believe that low taxes create growth. I've been in business all my life, Larry, and I think it would be great to have another person. There are very few in the United States Senate that actually is a businessman. We've got a lot of lawyers there. I know my opponent is one. But I really think that having someone in the United States Senate that's met a payroll, that's built a business, that's dealt with frivolous litigation and regulation would be a tremendous enhancement to the Senate, and someone who shares those common sense conservative values that have made our state great, like people Howard Baker, Fred Thompson, Bill Brock, Lamar Alexander, and Bill Frist. And I think what I represent is a continuation of that type of leadership which Tennesseans have come to really like.
Senator Frist was on this program last night and came out very forcefully for President Bush's version of CIA interrogation. Ms. Frist believes it's essential to winning the terror war and protecting the homeland. How would you vote on the CIA interrogation bill?
Well, I've strongly leaned towards the Bush side there. I'd rather have a chief executive that is trying to do everything they can to make sure that our citizens are safe and secure. I'm hopeful that negotiations will take place, and actually there'll be something coming out of the Senate that will make sense, that will allow us to do everything we can to make sure that, again, the safety and security of our citizens is paramount. And I hope, as my opponent does, that will be resolved very soon.
And on the NSA warrantless wiretapping, as you know, President Bush has said, when al-Qaeda terrorists from abroad call people here at home, we ought to know about it. Where would you come out on that one?
Again, I'd much rather have a president who is doing everything he can to make sure that families here in Tennessee and across our country are safe and secure, and I support him in that effort.
And what about the Iraq War? There, of course, is a great division between that. Sort of, some say it's immediate withdrawal or withdrawal timetable. President Bush is saying we have to stay until the job is done. General Abizaid just said we're going to keep full troop levels for quite some time in order to deal with the Baghdad problem. Where do you come out on the Iraq War, sir?
Well, I have a hard time envisioning, when I hear people around our state and around the country talking about some timetable for withdrawal, I have a hard time envisioning what Iraq would look like if we left there prior to them being able to secure themselves and people having an economic stake in the future of Iraq. So it would be tremendously destabilizing for us to leave the country until the Iraqi people can secure themselves. And certainly I think we need to listen to the military commanders on the ground there as far as what we need to do to make that happen.
Where do you see the biggest division, the biggest difference between yourself and Mr. Ford?
Well, you know, the congressman, first of all, we have 3 debates here in the state of Tennessee. I had 5 during the course of the primary. This may be one of the most, this probably is one of the most debated Senate races in modern history in Tennessee. And certainly I look forward to debating Congressman Ford. He likes to put words in other people's mouths, and I know he's good at talking. But the fact of the matter is that Congressman Ford, per National Journal, out of the last 8 of 9 years, is the most liberal member of our congressional delegation, just based on his voting record.
In Tennessee, you're saying?
In Tennessee, that's what I mean. And the fact of the matter is that this is a business.
And what specifically, okay, you make this liberal charge. Mr. Ford denies this liberal charge. And when you look at his voting record, for example, on the estate tax, on the investor taxes, on flag burning, on the 10 Commandments, on getting rid of handguns, it doesn't seem on the surface that he's a screaming liberal.
Well, he is, again, out of step with Tennesseans, and whether it's tort reform, whether it's the Second Amendment, where he's had 2 Fs by the NRA, whether it's allowing liberal judges to let felons out of prison early because of overcrowding, you could go on and on and on. And there's no question. Go ahead.
All right. No, I appreciate it, Mr. Corker. We appreciate your coming on. It's hard to get everything out. Anyway, we're going to continue to check the political pulse of America. Pollster Kellyanne Conway is going to tell us why President Bush is giving the GOP a shot in the arm, as she predicted, and she might even have a thought on this Tennessee Senate race.